And hello, everyone who is here live, and welcome to those of you watching the recording.
Mm.
My name is Denise Mend. I'm one of the leads here at Growth U, and we are so grateful to have two of my favorite leaders from Growth U here with me tonight at a very sacred and special time of the year to support all of you in focusing on what you deeply know intuitively, what you need to focus on and welcome, Jennifer, what you need to focus on for your optimal health as the year turns. And as we hit the solstice and enter into the holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or Diwali or any of the celebrations of the return of light, we welcome you to really listen to your deepest knowing tonight, because this is certainly a time when we all, I think, can listen a little more closely when this time of year and the darkness comes sooner. I think tomorrow night is actually the longest night of the year, the 20th. So tonight you are going to go home with some deeper knowledge about what will support you in your health and what to focus on, what may be a clear vision for you or a clearer vision for your health coming into the new year. And then you'll leave with some very concrete tools or skills that will help you feel better right now, because these two women have grown more than anybody I know in the last year. And this is part of why I wanted to do this webinar with them. So I want to welcome Tanya Revere. She is close to Austin, Texas, and is, oh, beautiful. So Meg says she's from Finger Lakes in New York State. Lovely. Welcome, Meg. So Tanya has really, she's the reason we're all here. She is one of the co-founders, along with Rod Harrison, of Growth U. She's a master trainer, an advisor, and was one of my first advisors when I first joined Growth U way back in the 2016s or 17s. And she is one of our pivotal people who has helped us to develop programs over the years. So she probably knows more about Growth U than anybody, I think. And so we are so deeply honored to have her here tonight. She will be sharing with you some very deeply held wisdom that I know that she's discovered over the last year or more. And then Laura Hyman is coming to us from North Carolina. And Laura and I joined Growth U around the same time. And Laura is also a master advisor and is now supporting Tanya in program development and has used probably every program in the Growth U calendar, yeah, to support her growth, and is one of my deepest friends. Both of these women are. And so tonight we know that you will go home with some very potent information for you. So we call this really, it's focusing on your health. And we often think about that as we roll into the new year. So something that I wanted to ask these two amazing women is just number one, what what gives you what gives you a renewed sense of focus around this time of year on your health? And what are you focusing on as we turn and the light returns? Laura, I'll
Mm.
let you go first, and then Tanya can go second.
Oh, thank you, Denise. Um, what I focus on. It's interesting because my most of my life I didn't focus on health. I focused on outside of myself. And what I've learned over this last 9 years here is that going within and focusing inside
Mm.
and deciding what I need in my life, I'm able to give more on the outside. And what I found most of all, It's interesting because I started Growth U and these programs right before the holidays.
Mm.
My husband and I both did. And we were deciding to take our health back, to just get healthy. And that was 9 years ago. And within a year, we both released over 100 pounds.
Mm.
Now, nutrition was a good part of it, but the mindset, I didn't know you needed a mindset to do things, to complete things. I joined different diets all my life for 30 years. Um, and we both did this over 50. We were retired and the kids were gone, and you're looking at yourself going, what's next? And we had no health. We were both suffering. So finding these programs and discovering the laws of focus, what you focus on, you find. What you focus on seems real. What you focus on grows. And what you focus on, you become. Such a simple thing. 4 simple sentences changed our lives, because now I focus on, how do I feel? How does this food make me feel? How does this drink make me feel? Is it worth it? I started questioning so many different things in my life. And it's kind of, it gets you really excited about getting healthy, because now I had something else to look at besides taking care of everyone. So now I focus on how I feel, and I question my actions when I'm showing up somewhere and just letting go. And this time of year, that's really hard to, it's really easy to get caught up in a trap of, oh, I want to fit in at this party, so I want to have these drinks and I want to do all these things, but I really don't feel so great when I do that. Focus on yourself, because going within is where all the success is. It's where it's sustainable. When you start questioning how you feel about something, if a shoe doesn't fit good, you don't wear that same pair of shoes again. You get something that fits better. And I found that when you focus on the things you want in life, instead of focusing on what you don't want to happen, it's amazing, just that little bit of switch can start creating the release of over 100 pounds, the energy to go along with it, and then the mindset to go along with it. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, you realize, I am this person. It's a lot of identity shifting when you make a decision to change the way you eat, or change the way you exercise, or change the way you show up for yourself. So I hope that answered your question a little bit.
It absolutely did. Thank you. And you mentioned the law of focus, right? What we focus on, we find, seems real, grows, and ultimately what we focus on, we become. And so many of us, we focus on what we don't want. So you very clearly, laid out that, oh, when I focus on what I want, and how many of us ask ourselves, what do we want in our health? What do we want to feel? Who do we want to be? What do we want to do? Versus, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel that. The interesting thing is, and we know this from psychology, is that the unconscious brain does not recognize don't or not. It just recognizes the thing that we are focusing on. So we have to be very careful about what we tell ourselves, right? So what's the one thing that you're really focusing on as we move, as the light returns, that you feel will really support you in your next version of yourself, Laura?
Mm. As the light's returning, I am focusing on the joy and abundance in my life.
Mm.
And that comes in all areas. It comes with the food I eat. with the things I choose to drink, with um, the people I'm with, the people I'm around. Um, I think the biggest thing I've learned is to protect my energy so that I can give it out
Mm,
in full, in full authenticity of myself.
mm, love that. Thank you. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Yeah, focusing on what we want. Super powerful. Seems simple. And when we practice that intentionally, watch what happens. Yeah. Tanya, hello.
That was so beautiful. Both of you, thank you. Uh, for me, I think the focus right now is on quieting the mind so that I can really hear and listen to my soul or what my body wants. I just recently started understanding that the body is a gift that we've been given as a soul and a spirit, and it's not necessarily something that we own per se. It's like it has its own consciousness too, and it works 24/7 on our behalf. We're not necessarily directing it or controlling it. We're being absolutely blessed and benefited by all that our body is and does. And so I think almost separating your body from the essence of your awareness and your soul, and realizing you are in relationship with your body is just profoundly shifting. And I was in yoga last weekend, really feeling into that concept. And I remember just throughout the yoga experience, just saying, like, I love you, body. I just kept saying, thank you for everything. I love you, body. I love you, body. And then I noticed, like, all of a sudden, when I was in child's pose, my hands just kind of came into a heart shaped like this. And my body was saying, I love you back. And it was like really tuning in. Your body wants to speak back to you, it wants to connect with you, it wants to be acknowledged. And so being in relationship with the body is a whole nother world to be in. Um,
Mm. And you bring up a point of our body has its own consciousness, and there are multiple brains in our nervous system, right? There's actually a brain in our gut that has its own consciousness, its own memories, its own actions. And a brain is really just a collection of neurons that has a consciousness. And so our gut, our heart, same, has its own brain along with our head brain. And then there are more. And the science around it is fascinating. And so, Tanya, as you have listened more deeply to this beautiful body of yours, what other things help you to quiet the mind? So yoga is one practice that I know many people probably do. What are some other things that help you
yeah,
to
I
listen?
think part of it is realizing that
I think I have frozen. Oh no. Yeah. Can you hear me?
of course, yeah,
I
of course I
froze for a little
froze.
bit. Okay. You were in a really beautiful, thoughtful.
Yeah, I think, is it okay now? The
Yeah,
connection?
I
Okay.
can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think for me, it's realizing that we are not our thoughts. And I became quite aware of my programming. And when I say programming, I mean like the ego programming. Whatever's just consistently running through your mind about everything. It's like your mind always wants to narrate everything or remind you of something from the past or tell a story just to kind of like feel comfortable or justify something. Um, so I've been really in tune with the fact that I'm not any of my thoughts. I'm not any of my thought patterns. And so it's been an interesting couple years of really, I mean, we teach in our programs to be the neutral observer of your thoughts, but you're not necessarily doing that 24/7. And there are moments of awareness where you're like, oh, I guess I could choose how I want to feel about this, or I could choose this thought versus that thought. Um, I've gone through a very unique experience where I've been able to actually observe my thoughts 24/7. It's a very interesting, fascinating experience that I've been moving through in my own development and awakening, getting out of the constant programming. Um, most of what we feel are just simply patterns. And most of the thoughts that we have and the stories that we tell and narrate are just on repeat. And so to just be aware and to be in the awareness is one of the most powerful positions we could ever be in with our beingness. Um, it's a little tricky because the ego has you thinking that all of your stories and everything that you think and feel is who you are, but it's not. You are the conscious observer and chooser, and you're in awareness of. Anyway, I think the more that you play with that without making it too much emotion, but just like really just seeing the tapes for what they are and just being like, wow, they protected you for a long time, decades, you know. It's been your best friend. Those voices in my head have literally been with me my whole life. So it feels and sounds like me. It's like, but it's not really me. You know, I choose who I am. I choose how I show up, and it's going to be different. Each day it can be different. You still have to contend to those habits and patterns that are part of something Laura said earlier, part of your identity, which is our automatic thoughts and feelings and patterns that we don't realize are already just running. They're just running. So when you want to change the programs, you you have to truly be conscious and be present and be able to observe so that there are moments you can be like, uh, not we're not going down that we're not going down that path. You know, and then you can redirect the focus.
Yeah. And so you bring up a really important point, Tanya. And so again, welcome Shelby. Shelby just came on. If these concepts are new to you, it's important to remember that all of us, when we were little people, when we were children, we received conditioning and ways of being from our parents, from our grandparents, from the elders around us, and we learned things to be in families and societies. And all of these things our brain takes on as patterns, as Tanya mentioned. And so these patterns and ways of being we acquire between 0 and 9 years of age. And so many patterns, and I bet every one of us here has something that loops in our head every once in a while that we go, wow, that felt like my mom or my grandmother or my father or my grandfather, right? That, things that we tell ourselves, like, who here has spilt something and went, oh, that was so stupid, right? Well, no, it's just a spill and it's an accident and it's okay. And did we hear something when we were little that was not a good thing to do in our family, right? Or there's something that you hear when you make a mistake or if you don't get the results you want that it can be unkind. And so when we recognize that that voice, as Tanya said, is not our own, it's something we were given as conditioning to keep us safe in our families, in spaces where maybe in our schools, and as adults, we can choose whether that serves us or not anymore. So Tanya, was there one that you can remember a simple example of, I'm not listening to this inner critic anymore, something that inner critic said?
Mm, my inner critic was not nice.
Mhm.
Um, my inner critic was tricky because it would be nice but then if I wasn't going with the program, because I'm starting to grow and change, it would kind of get a little ornery and cranky, and then it would flip on me a little, and it wasn't so nice. And I was like, wow, what patterns have I fed my whole life that it's almost as if I used to really believe that all those little voices and patterns were me. It's quite fascinating. I don't know if there's any one. I just think when it comes to doubt and judgment's key. It's such a blanket statement, but
Yeah.
we tend to want to judge everything. So I think the comparison thing, could come up very easily. Um, it's like you're critical of things around you without even knowing that you are
Mhm.
until you really tune into it. So I would say for me, it's not so much just one thing, it's being aware that my programming is just it's been so constantly present for me. And I know it is because I've been wanting to really tune in and quiet it. I'm making these consistent efforts to literally find some type of peace and quietness in my mind. And I know that it can be done. It just takes practice. It takes discipline. And I've been at this a couple years, and I mean, I've probably been at it my whole life, just adjusting to every environment I've ever been in based on what I was focused on and what my goal is. And then where I am right now with it, I'm just sitting and watching how my mind operates.
Mm.
And I think that's the biggest thing is being curious about it. Watching what it, man, will it play some interesting tricks on you and do some fun dances and loops. Just because it used to always get its way and it was, yeah, it always had that your attention and it got to constantly play until it doesn't play and you don't want it anymore. And then it's like kind of like a terrible toddler tantruming.
Mm.
Like, what? You're not going to listen to us anymore? No, no, I'm not.
Something I love to ask myself is that really true? If something comes up, like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this again. Like I had a pretty significant knee injury back in my university days, and that was something that often came up as, oh, I'll never be able to run this way, or I'll never be able. And then I'm like, wait a second, is that really true? Right? And so when we get these never or these sort of, blanket statements that come up in our mind, statements about getting older, like, oh, well, I guess because I'm this age, I'll have to feel this. Well, is that really true? So I think that's one thing that I want everyone to take away from today is it when you hear these kind of things that feel limiting and feel like they keep you the same, are they really true? And can you change the story? So Tanya, I know that speaking of things that people can take away tonight, that will help them feel better. So that's one is that story you're telling yourself really true? Another one that you've done is a receiving journal. Can you tell us a little bit more about that process that
Mm,
you've done?
sure. Yeah, I mean, I think I've done gratitude journals before, and when I've done that, it's been wonderful, and I found myself kind of repeating the same things I was grateful for, which has its value too. And when I heard someone talking about a receiving journal, it actually felt very different than a gratitude journal. A receiving journal is where you're writing down things that you have been given. And it could be the littlest thing, like somebody gave you a little extra of something, or somebody gave you a smile, or somebody opened the door for you, or there was a new business opportunity that came through that day, or something that was like synchronistic for you that you're like, ooh, that's pretty cool that happened. Um, the more you start writing down every day on paper what you received that day, the more you start realizing how much you're receiving all the time. But without that practice and that awareness, you may very well overlook that you're receiving anything because you're taking it for granted.
Mhm.
right? So and then of course, what Laura was saying earlier, that whatever you focus on grows, it expands. So it's that simple law that, the more you focus on what you're receiving, the more you receive, and the more you realize you're receiving. And so that's the universe keeps bringing you more of something that you're acknowledging.
Yeah,
That's the power just putting awareness to it.
I love that. Yeah. I've started to do this since you talked about this probably a month ago now. And it's amazing when you focus on what you are being given, even if it's like your awareness of ideas, right?
Yeah.
Like I came across a podcast that had these beautiful affirmations about being present in the moment. And I was like, I would not have recognize that as a gift had I not been focused on what I was receiving and coming into my awareness. So, and it's been so powerful. Like one of the affirmations was a recognition of this is a beautiful moment right here. Right now is a beautiful moment. And when I tell myself that in whatever situation it is, then I can find the beauty in it, the lesson in it, something that I'll take away that is potent for me, right? And all of you have that power to do that. Like this right now is a beautiful moment. Yeah, I love
And
that.
yeah, try it for 30 days. I think
Mhm.
that practice right there, do it for 30 days and see how your life shifts.
Yeah, I love that. Laura, do you have something that you're using that is really supporting you in disciplining your focus or just supporting you in feeling better in your health?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, finding things to appreciate,
Mm.
right? I think being able to, any circumstance I come up with regarding my health, um, I reframe it, you know. I take like yesterday a doctor's appointment, and it was very easy to fall into the victim of having an illness. Oh, I've got this illness and I'm not going to be able, all the things, all of a sudden, all the things you can't, right? But before I left the office, I said, wait, let me reframe this. I am going to find a solution to feel better, and it will be a natural one, and I won't be back next month. And it just by saying those things out loud, I felt better and I felt confident to leave. And I wasn't a victim, to what this circumstance could have been, right? Don't focus on what could or should or all those things. I'm finding that I can change the way I think about things, right? Will help me get through the cycle of growth, right? Really in inception, being so thrilled about something, not sure what's going to happen or how it's going to happen. And then you do it. And then the next thing you know, in 2 weeks or so, you're like, this is too hard. There's too much to this. I don't want to do this. I lived most of my life hitting deception and then going back and finding something else to be excited about. What I found is when I push through that and make a decision in my head that I'm going to look at this differently. I'm going to change the way I see this. Like Tanya said, change the way you feel about something. And next thing you know, you're writing down every day for 30 days what you are receiving. So now your brain is looking for it and you're transforming into it. And then pretty soon you're just doing it. You're in identity. I played that game most of my life and would stop at deception, right? Because you're just, it's too much. I don't want to go here. When all the beautiful life and adventure and curiosity and everything is on the other side of deception, it changes the way you look at everything in life. Just holding on to those two things, the laws of focus and the cycle of growth, it has literally changed the way I live. It changes the way I show up because I'm curious about what's next instead of being, oh no, what's next? You know, I mean, that was a program. That was a program mom had, grandma had, and they handed it off to me. And I thought, oh, I handed that to my daughters. So now I get to show them that there's a different way, that they can reprogram whatever they need to fit their world, to fit their lives. We're all different. So there's no reason we all have to do this exact. I'm not doing exactly what Tanya's doing or exactly what Denise is doing. Yet we are kind of still doing the same thing because we're just finding what we want to focus on and what we want to accept about a situation, what we want to understand about it, and always find something to appreciate, right? Because gratitude, appreciation, it is the chemicals that go off in your body are amazing. You
Yep.
know, the dopamine hits that you get. We can do this for ourselves without any outside things coming in. This mind of ours is the most powerful thing. And I'm a little sad to say that it took me 50 years to start playing with it.
Well, it's never too late, right? It's never too
Never
late.
too late.
I know another thing you do is breath work. Speaking of brain chemicals, right? So you do breath work every day to help to optimize your chemistry, right? You start your day off with that.
Absolutely breathing deeply. I do a lot of Kundalini yoga, which is a lot of breath work and movement. Um, Anything I do, I breathe through,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and when you're an intentional about breathing and taking the breaths in and releasing them and feeling it go in your body, you know, filling your belly up and your lungs up and then releasing it and just all the way through, it's there's just your own peace. It's your own way to bring peace to a situation and to breathe your way. And when I said accept, understand, and appreciate, I use that you in the middle as the breath, right? When you just aren't sure about something, take your breath. That's your understanding. That gives you a moment to stop in that moment and just take a breath and breathe through it. It will show up for you in your heart or your gut or your brain because they're all working together.
Yeah. Oh, I love you too. And I know that we could probably speak on this topic for hours. And I'm mindful of the time. And I'm so grateful that Ali and Jennifer and Kathy and Meg and Shelby, you stayed with us through the half hour. I want to just sum up in that, Laura declared something that we would call a vision. And a vision is just something that you have an idea about that you want to change into something different, or you want to be somebody different, or you want to feel a different way. And what she so beautifully demonstrated is that we don't have to know how to do it.
Mhm.
Uh, we just have to declare what we want, and then our brain gets to work on figuring out and gets creative. And she talked about something called the cycle of growth. And so, if you are curious about learning more about anything we've talked about, we would love to see you. You're going to get more information after the webinar about a few things that are coming up for our community. There's a beautiful program running at the beginning of January. There's some retreats that are happening in April and in June in a few different places. And so you'll get that information and you can look through it in your own time. And what we really want you to take away from today is that we hope that you will have a renewed sense of ownership about where your focus goes around your health. And that when you focus on what you want versus what you don't want, when you use something like a receiving journal to focus on what you are receiving, not only in tangible physical things, but in thoughts and emotions that perhaps are different. Maybe you're receiving an awareness that you can choose to feel something different about something that's come up for you over and over again. Those are all gifts when we pay attention to them. So, Tanya, Laura, is there anything else you want to finish with as we close up today?
I mean, I would just say that the most important thing to do, especially through the holidays, is to be mindful of the stories that you tell. And so often they're just repeated stories and they may not really be helping. So if you're going to tell a story, make sure that it's, maybe constructive, or there's some valuable lesson to it, or don't tell any stories. Just be. Just be present with yourself, be present with those that you're interacting with. Practice not saying as much. Sometimes that I think helps to just really realize that we fill our mind and we fill a space with stuff that it might just be patterns. It might just be uncomfortableness, but like just be present and just listen more. There's so much value in just listening. Listening to other people, listening to yourself. Just enjoy that over the next, couple weeks or so. It's very insightful.
Thank you. Laura, anything before we leave?
I think that, look at, we're all in this together, this life, right? We're all here living our lives, doing our thing. You don't have to do it alone. We've got a beautiful community here that there's absolutely no judgment, and we just support. And it's been the most beautiful part of my life so far, this last 9 years being in this community, and really paying attention to myself. And my family benefits from this. My tribe, my people that I'm with all the time benefit from me taking care of me more than me taking care of them and not taking care of myself. There's been a huge shift there. And we can help anybody do that here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I love you, Laura. I love you, Tanya. Thank you so much, those of you joining us live, and we wish you love, and we celebrate the return of the light. And yes, as Tanya said, take some time to pause and listen through this lovely, beautiful, quiet time of year. Until next time, thank you. We'll see you again. Bye,
Love
everyone.
you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.